couple of points about myself. Um, I qualified as a chartered accountant way back in 2009, and I practically completed my articleship in audit. And the reason why I'm giving all this background is for you to know as to what kind of a background I've had and where I am today. So I was part of audit, and after clearing my CA, I did not get into the profession immediately, but I kind of started something else, something much like Deepak sir here. But then I thought that consulting is something, or tax consulting is something that I'd want to do. And somewhere in 2013 is when I moved back to the profession. When I started out, I was with largely doing corporate tax plus a little bit of M&A because the firm that I was part of did not have a specific M&A role as such, but people who were kind of doing corporate tax would also do M&A. And then I moved to Deloitte, and then after some time in Deloitte is when I moved to M&A in particular, and that's how I've been with KPMG as well. So that's how I started out. Now, before I speak further on what M&A is, maybe I will just share my screen for you to see the slides, and please let me know once my screen's visible and if you're able to see the slides. Shalini, Roy, Deepak sir.
Yes, it's visible.
It's visible.
So, and sorry, just before I start, one important thing. Best of luck to all of you for your results tomorrow. Hope you get the results that you are hoping for and you deserve. Best wishes from my end and from the entire KPMG team here. So M&A, while the full form is mergers and acquisitions, but M&A is not only about mergers or acquisitions. Mergers is a representative of internal restructurings or external restructurings that we do. It includes a demerger or anything that you would do through a court-appointed process. Acquisitions in general would mean when someone wants to acquire either some asset or some shares of a company or any other instrument for that matter. But M&A is a large pool which includes a plethora of activities, not only in the form of a merger or acquisition, but also can include stuff like succession planning. So what is succession planning? There's, let's say, a huge industrialist, a big industrialist, and wants to uh, ensure that there is a successor in line from his family whom he thinks should be able to control the business at a later point, ring fences personal and business assets. There is something like a wealth preservation, such that even if a generation is not able to expand the wealth, at least it is not lost, and there is some succession of wealth that goes on to other generations. There is entry and exit strategies for, let's say, someone coming outside of India or within India into a new company. There is cleanup of balance sheets. So what we've done here is just put all of these in easier buckets for you to be able to understand what M&A is. And in case you have any questions on what we do where, I can probably answer that as well. But let's say there is an acquisition or a divestment. If someone has acquired some shares and they want to exit, or if they want to get into a new acquisition. So the first check is a due diligence. Now, what is due diligence? You look at the records of the company, the financials, the tax records, the direct and indirect tax records, transfer pricing if it's applicable, and you validate, because you are going into a company which is going to be absolutely new for you. So you need to know if the financials are representative of actual facts there, right? So there is a due diligence that is conducted, and we do a lot of due diligences whereby we involve different teams. There is a financial due diligence team which will actually look into financials, and it is not validating the numbers that are appearing in the financials, but a more deeper exercise of whether the profits that are being shown um, is it in line with the actuals? There are a lot of metrics that are used to understand if the financials show a right picture, and this is compared to industry standards as well. We, from a tax perspective, we look at all their open assessments and see if there is any risk that we highlight, that we need to highlight to the person who is going to be buying. So all of this for the reason that if whether two decisions, one, whether the acquisition is indeed worth going into, and two, if the price is correct or if there is an adjustment required. Basically, a price is agreed on some metrics, and if there is an adjustment to the price required. That is one of the initial stages of an acquisition. Now, there are other structuring advisory as well as to what is the mode of funding that you should come in, whether you should come in through an SPV or should you make a direct investment. SPV is a special purpose vehicle, or do you come in directly? What is the instrument that you should use depending on what is the objectives of the investment? Sorry about my health, a little unwell today. Um, and then there is corporate restructurings that we spoke about, mergers, demergers, capital reductions. A merger or a demerger could be internal or external. Internal, I mean, let's say you have a lot of businesses built into one entity and you want to, for example, divest one business, or you want investments in only one business and not the others. So you may look, sorry about that. So you may look at demerging one of the businesses into a new entity or to another entity and then get an investment there, right? So these are some of the internal restructurings or external restructurings that you may come into. Now, when do you need to do a buyback? When do you need to do a capital reduction? All of these are things that we analyze, and I'll come to the part on how we analyze and how we decide what is the appropriate mechanism that should be considered. Then you would have heard a lot about startups getting valued at insane valuations. So generally, this is venture capital or private equity that would be coming in. Now, when they come in, what should be the structure? Whether are they coming in through a fund or is it their balance sheet investment? Now, what is a balance sheet and what is a fund investment? A balance sheet is when someone is making use of their own money to invest. A fund investment is where someone is pooling money using a vehicle to pool money from different investors and then invest, right? So the considerations for the structures that you use would differ depending on whether it's a fund or a balance sheet. Then and why it would differ is because the tax considerations are different for each of these structures. Then there is permanent establishment. I'm sure you would have heard of it. Article 7 of every DTAA. You would have heard of business connection under Section 9, right? From a Income Tax Act standpoint. So whether any of the activities of a foreign entity or a foreign person creates a PE or a business connection risk in India, this could alter the tax treatment, and therefore you'd want to check whether a PE is being created. Carried interest, a carried interest, I'm not sure if many of you know here, but a carried interest would mean that, let's say there is a fund, right? A fund does not operate on its own. There is a person who would be advising, who would be employed with the fund and who would be advising on what investments to make, when do we come out, when do we divest, when do we sell. So these are fund managers. Now, fund managers, apart from their salary, are also given an interest in the underlying profits they make. So, how do you structure that carried interest? Then we also go into obtaining tax and regulatory approvals. For example, there is a Section 281 certificate, which is a no objection certificate. If you have to set up a fund in India, AIF, there is a regulatory approval required for that from SEBI. So we help in that, right? So these are some of the regular M&A kind of work that we do. And the last section here is promoter related work. Now, I will probably give you an example of what promoter related work we do as well. But generally, promoters are very worried about what happens to the business after them. It's a truth that can't be there forever, right? So how do they structure to ensure that the business always remains within the family? Now today they are in control, but tomorrow once they are not there, they're not sure whether the business can remain within the family or some outsider will try and take control of it. So we design structures such that planning succession is planned and that the business can remain within the boundaries what the promoter or the promoter would have thought of or decided. We also give them options, help them with their exit strategies. What do we mean by exit strategies? Again, when they want to divest, how do you one divest in such a manner that you reduce your legally reduce your tax outflows, stuff like that. Now, before we do all of this, there's a lot of process involved before we can go on to suggest any options to any of our clients. What do we do? We first go to the clients and ask a lot of questions. So the first important thing is you should know what are the kind of questions you need to ask, understand what the management or the promoter is wanting to achieve, what is their objective of undertaking an M&A. Now, it is not like corporate tax where it is legally required to be done, or it's a compliance activity that you need to do. M&A is largely by choice. While why I mentioned by choice is there are some circumstances where you may have to do it because of you know some trigger that's happened, but largely by choice. So you need to understand why is the management or the promoter wanting to do something. So once you've got an idea of what the thought process is, then you start looking at options. Now, when I can also do a buyback or a capital reduction, both of it will have different consequences, different tax treatments. Like a capital reduction, if there is accumulated profit, it's deemed dividend and taxable in the hands of the shareholders. If it's a buyback, then there is a 115 QA, 20% plus surcharge and cess is the regular rate of tax. So if it's a capital reduction, are the shareholders non-residents and can they take benefit of the treaty, thereby resulting their tax outgo? These are the types of thoughts that we'll have, and then we'll come up with some concepts, some options that these are the possible options for you. These are the pros, these are the cons. How do you, and we then help them in deciding what options to be undertaken. I already spoke about due diligence. Then there is something of a regulatory approval. Let's say I want to do a capital reduction. I will need an NCLT approval. So we then help with the filing of the scheme and then in representation. While we will not represent, but we'll work hand in hand with the lawyers, take them through facts and what should be our strategy in court for this NCLT approval. All of this. So this, in essence, is a big picture of what we do in M&A. Now, just for you to maybe appreciate, I know this is a lot of technical stuff, and just for you to appreciate, maybe I'll give you one or two examples of what kind of transactions that we have undertaken. So there's a client of mine, which is an investment bank and which had a pooling vehicle in Mauritius. So they came in through Mauritius and had invested in a company in India. Over a period of 10 years, they'd invested a few $100 million. Now, what they wanted to do was not to exit the investment in India, but they wanted to first list the investment and then exit, because that's when they believe they will be able to achieve maximum value of their investment. And this was in line with what the promoters of the Indian investee company also thought. The easier option for them would have been to list it in India and take an exit. But the Indian markets were not so good at that point in time, and therefore they eventually, we all came up with an idea of a SPAC list. What you do in SPAC is a slightly complicated process. I will not go in there, but eventually, pursuant to a SPAC process, they listed the shares of the Indian company which were acquired by a non-resident or a foreign company, and shares of that foreign company were listed on NASDAQ. This was entirely a swap process. So we helped them with the entire swap transaction and whatever were the tax implications of that, whether treaty benefits could be obtained, what would be the tax exposure. Someone who was buying those shares, which is the foreign company, needed some, inputs on what their tax liabilities would be while they were protected under a treaty, what it would be. So it was this transaction was almost a year long. Eventually, it so happened that the shares of the Indian company were transferred to a foreign company, and the foreign company shares were listed on NASDAQ. One of the largest ever listings for an Indian company, and largest SPAC transactions, in fact, for an Indian company. And I remember this transaction going for slightly over a year. So you can then understand that it's not like it's a small piece of work that we do. Sometimes we are in a transaction for a long period of time. Some transactions are very short fuse and complete in a month or two. Some transactions can go on for a year also. So it's all part and parcel of the game. Now, this transaction got us so much visibility because we were one of the first people to be able to do it, that for the next few days we were inundated with queries whereby people would come to us, and different clients would come to us and ask for mechanics and how did we do it, what were the challenges. So it became really exciting, and while this involved some stretch, but by the end of it, we felt so relieved, or rather, there was so much excitement and there was so much of a sense of accomplishment that I really cannot explain to you. Now, this is a corporate transaction I have done. There has been a transaction involving a promoter whereby, in fact, not one transaction. We started with one small merger for a promoter, which was required to, kind of address some of his concerns that he had. But over the last 6, 7 years, we've developed such close relationship with the promoter that $1 billion plus valuation, the promoter is valued $1 billion plus, and we are on a first name basis and on WhatsApp. So that's the kind of relationship that that you develop, provided you've been able to work on something. Now, the promoter would call us for anything and everything involving, even if there is a non-tax matter, but it's a M&A related matter for his personal uh, uh, tax issues as well. We get calls, and not only tax, it can also sometimes go into commercials. Now, of all this, what you need to understand is M&A is not pure tax. It is also a lot of commercial, right? It is not only knowing tax laws. Yes, tax laws are something that, let's say you are from an audit background or a non-tax background in articleship, or you've not done a lot of tax, but your commercial sense and is really good. That also can help you with M&A. Right? What we look at is not only your tax knowledge, because that's something that you can eventually develop. You have to have your basics knowledge, which you would have, let's say, learned during your CA exams, or you would have done in your articleship. Your concepts have to be strong, but eventually you will need to understand commerce or commercials. That is one of the most important aspects of M&A. You need to know how markets work. While I don't advocate that you invest in markets, but maybe read Economic Times every day. You have various apps where you can, kind of uh, uh, invest not money, but invest your time and say that you bought X shares at X price. And then on that basis, you look at where you're performing. How did you make an investment choice? Why did you think that you need to divest at a particular time? These are practical solutions or practical aspects what you can do now before you join somewhere, so that you get more insights into how people make investment or divestment decisions, what drives economics and commercials. So these are some of the aspects that I believe you should undertake. And please don't forget to read Economic Times or any other financial newspaper that you can. It really helps if you have M&A in your mind. Even if it is non-M&A, it does, but for M&A, it really matters if you are reading a financial newspaper or a e-newspaper. So this was largely about M&A. Uh, Deepak sir, Roy, Shalini, anything that you believe I should add, or should we open the floor for questions?
Rohit, I think well, let's open up for Q&A. Maybe, from there we can then add on if necessary.
Rohit, as you added, I'm asking this question on behalf of all of them. As I said in the beginning, that at times they understand and they read direct tax laws in detail. So they think that reading DTA and this direct tax law in itself is going to make everything okay for them. But as you rightly mentioned, that they should be aware about the overall business scenarios. The question which may come up from the candidate side is, sir, when we take up our economic times in our hands, this is the COVID generation. Let me tell you, they did their articleship in COVID years. So they were not having that much of support in terms of office interaction and other things. So most of the times they come back asking this question that if I'm supposed to pick the economic times, are there any specific sections? Are there any specific things which they are supposed to look at, or a general? Because trust me, this generation has got a very low attention span. And they would like to read a newspaper on mobile app, which I discourage, actually saying them that notifications will divert you here and there.
Correct.
So a bit of a granular understanding that if exactly or pinpointingly this is what they should see and follow, that will help them. If you can just help them with this, and others also, candidates can also put up their questions one by one. I think this is one question commonly which I have put up.
So while I don't think there is one specific section that you can, pinpoint to say that this is sufficient for you to read. But always be on the lookout for macroeconomic factors, specifically from an M&A perspective. See where the industry is heading, because we've generally seen that it's more like a industry. It's an industry which follows regular things that are going on. For example, let's say if you would have seen that real estate, or rather, let me come up with a example that you'll understand, right? So there was a lot of focus on renewables a while back, and there was back-to-back announcements that were being made for in investments in renewable energy sectors. So once you follow the trend as to, let's say you've seen that there are a couple of big ticket investments that have happened in renewable space, what you need to understand is what are the kind of price people are paying, what are the mechanics, where are people coming in from, what's the deal size, if it's a startup, what's the general multiples that investments are being traded at, who is being very focused on India. Let's say there is there are so many investment banks, there are so many Ps, there are who is currently focused on India. So start following uh, trends on where the investments are, who are investing. Like you may have heard of SoftBank in putting in an India fund of so much so size. Now, if it's better, you start following SoftBank, you will understand where they are putting in all their money into. This is largely from a non-resident investment, but nothing like it. First page, front page, full, read the entire front page and glance through the headlines. It's not necessary that you know the entire article in detail. Glance through the headlines, see whatever interests you. Read a few paragraphs that can help you in, understanding what interests you, and then read the entire article if required. But macroeconomic factors at the initial time is more important. So see where the economy is heading. Where do you think which industry is going to boom? These are these are conversation starters as well, because most of these discussions we have with our clients. So how do you start? Go into macroeconomics, read what's trending, and then whenever you are able to, whenever you speak with a client, these are definitely going to help. Deepak sir, any particular, see, I am not someone who will want to advise on what page to read, because I
Yeah,
believe
yeah,
it
I
has to
got
be
it.
by
But
choice.
it's an open book actually. If you
Absolutely.
because even I'm a regular reader, so once you start following something, so then it keeps on giving that news on a regular basis.
Correct.
So then you are able to understand the thread key. It was a development. This has gone to this level, this level. Like I was closely observing the Baiju story.
Right.
So the Baiju story was undergoing a change right from the rising to the highest levels coming down. They did open up some physical centers. There were governance issues. They submitted their financials late. So there were a lot of things which are going on. Being a private company, they had their privilege not getting into anything and not being asked. But at the end of the day, Ministry of Corporate Affairs started asking them that you are one of those jewel in the crown as startups. So you are being looked up to, and if you are not compliant enough, there would be things. And then they finally landed up into various things which were not good for them.
Correct.
So
Like edtech is a prime example of what can go wrong, right?
correct,
One point in time, edtech was education technology was one of the most sought after sectors. You'd have seen the biggest of the investments that have happened, and ultimately it so happened that edtech is a place where no one wants to go in now, and there is a lot of interest again on K-12, the traditional learning, uh, physical coaching, a
correct.
lot of interest again, right? You're absolutely right, sir. There's no one place that you can pinpoint, and you'll have to be very uh, uh, open and read as much as possible. Even if it's a short time, go through all your headlines, pick what's interesting to you. Any knowledge really helps. To be fair, it doesn't matter whether you know something in detail, but whatever you are able to read, and knowledge never goes waste. Reading
Correct.
will always help you.
Rohit, some interesting observation has come up on a chat window, which is
Sorry.
what I think you and I will agree. Problem while reading newspaper is that whenever something new or issue comes up, we go to search it, and then we just get lost there, hardly complete one or two pages. Do
Sorry,
you
I
read a
couldn't get
physical
your
one,
name
Rohit, or
there.
do you take it? Do you read the physical newspaper or the app one?
I'm I can't read it on an app. I need to read it on read a newspaper physically, but I do also follow a lot of people on Twitter. It
Correct.
really helps.
But reading makes a lot of impact when you are onto the newspaper. So the notifications don't pop up and then they don't distract you actually.
Absolutely right, sir. No, the other advantage with a newspaper, yes, distractions, of course. But when you're reading a newspaper, you really start focusing on the content there, and it's again one sort of distraction, but not with notifications. But I feel it's a strain on my eyes to read it on device, and I prefer a newspaper every day. In fact, almost an hour every day is spent on newspapers, despite there being, people complain that we don't have time and all of that. But I make it a point that 45 minutes to an hour is dedicated to a newspaper every day.
True. That is what even I have the habit. So because I am into training for strategic management and economics, so that is something which is has to be hands-on on a daily basis.
And with your point, again, sorry, I couldn't see your name there, but see, it's something that, yes, initially you may have to go and search for topics because you don't understand. But trust me, with practice or with daily habit, you will overcome this. It's a matter of a few days, weeks, or months, depending on how much of an effort it is. But after a while, you will start following things, and you would not have to go to search something.
Any other
Um,
questions candidates have? Okay, Manish is
okay,
coming.
while we move into the Q&A, can I request everyone if everyone can come on video, please, for the Q&A?
Yeah. All the candidates, please switch on your video so it will be good.
It would really be good to see all of you, on video. I mean, not a mandate, but whoever can.
Yes, and that will be the first condition if you end up having an interview with the firm.
Yeah.
You need to keep your video on switched on mode.
Actually, yes.
Thank you, all of you,
Great,
for
great.
taking
Good
the
to
time.
see more people on videos now.
Nice.
Yeah, this feels more lively.
It does. Thanks, Roy, for the suggestion. Really helpful.
No problem. All right, let's see some questions coming in then.
CFA level 1 clear is having any advantage in this industry? I believe CFA level 2, yes. Level 1, it really shows that you are serious about yourself. And largely, if you've done CA, I believe CFA level 1 is more or less covered there. But yes, it shows your intent that you want to, you're serious about it. But Roy, maybe this is a question that you can also answer on whether screening CFA level 1, does it make any difference in the initial screening?
Mm, yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, if see CFA, whether you're see whatever professional course you are pursuing, it sure does add advantage to advantage to your CV. But yes, again, we look at whether that particular professional course is going to be applicable to the position that you're applying for or not. I think that is actually what matters.
Got it. I think this is a regular question on CFA and CA together. I think we've sort of answered that, but in case there's anything more specific that you'd want to us to answer, maybe you can write it. On sponsorship from employers, yes, there is programs that are available where I can also study, and there's some sort of sponsorship. Maybe Roy would help if you could throw more
Uh,
light on that.
sure, sure. So we have a very strong support on what we call continuous learning policy, where the firms rather encourages you to take up certification courses which are relevant to your profession. Right, of course, this is going to be in line with what you are currently doing or in line with what your profile is. Suppose say someone from M&A, someone who is into M&A tax wants to take up a certification related to merger acquisition or wants to take up a taxation course related to taxation. It is relevant to your profession. So obviously, in discussion with your line manager, you can take that up, and then the firm would cover up to certain extent of the course fee. Now, however, say you are into M&A tax, and then you want to take up a certificate course in HR, then that may not be as relevant. So your manager may not support that. But otherwise, the firm as a whole, we do support a lot of these courses, certification and all. Next, I hope I have answered that question, Manish. And the next question is, what sort of questions do we need to prepare to be able to crack interviews for this department? Rohit, you want to
Yeah, yeah, Roy,
take that
I'll,
up?
I'll take that up. So, one, like I mentioned, there are okay, maybe I'll take a step back and come to what we look at before in a candidate when we are interviewing someone. So essentially, tax, yes, if you've had an articleship experience, uh, we'd like to know what you've done. So practical insights always help. But even if you've not had a tax experience, tax skills is something that we definitely check, and that's for us to understand as to what kind of seriousness you've had in your preparations. Is it we check generally on you know specific sections we may ask you there, but beyond all this, which is standard, we also want to check what are your confidence levels, how sure you are about what you write, how how true you've been on what you've written in your CV, Because if you write in your CV that I've done X, Y, Z, then we want to be sure that you've done that kind of work and that you know what you've done, right? So when you write a practical experience, be sure that you've done that and that you remember everything in detail. We want to understand how quick you can think. Are you on your feet? Or and we'd also like to understand whether you really can understand situations and then act accordingly, right? So one, tax skills, yes, but also do you have a general knowledge on how the markets are? And three, whatever work you've done during your articleship, you should be able to, whatever you've written in your CVs, you should be able to explain what you've done in clear terms. Don't be nervous. We are not as scary as you think we are. We want to understand whether you would be able to uh, live up to what you promised to us during the interviews. Roy, anything else to add, please feel free.
I think you have sum it up perfectly, right? So we actually, I mean, we usually look for what you have written in your CV and then ask basis that. So if you claim to have done something, the basic expectation is that you know what you have done. And I mean, and like Rohit said, if you are applying for a particular position, expectation is that you know at least the basic of it, if not the practical know-how, at least the theoretical knowledge of what you are getting into. I think those are basic expectations that we have from all candidates.
And just
I
don't
mean
be.
the
Sorry, Roy. Sorry to pitch in. Please continue.
No problem. So, I mean, if you're applying for M&A tax, then we at least expect you to know the basics of what M&A tax is as a practice, or what they do as a practice, even if you don't have practical experience. Yeah, I think that is all right.
Yeah, and just don't be nervous. It's okay for you to not know something. You don't have to say something which you believe is not right or which you don't know. You can, I mean, I know it depends, but if you really don't know something, don't say something which is not right. It really is not a good sign.
So I
Ro-
think this question is in continuation to that. What about minimum experience requirement when the vacancies are out and we have zero to little experience? Uh, See, I mean, we understand that M&A tax as a practice is not very common, especially in the smaller firms. So that is not a requirement for us. While I mean, if you have an M&A tax articles of experience, nothing like that. But I mean, the rest that does not stop the rest from getting selected. In fact, we have had a lot of selections of candidates who does not have any M&A tax background. In fact, the same applies for the other tax service lines also.
Like I mentioned, I had a audit experience, right? My articleship was audit, but I still got selected for tax. And that was a boutique firm where, it was not easy to get in because they had very minimal seats and difficult to get in. But if you get your basics right, even without experience, if you prove that you are a candidate worth taking, it is not going to be difficult.
There's another question. I have taken multiple attempts to clear CA finals. Also, I don't have great articleship experience. What should I do to start in this field? Okay, so first part I'll answer. I'll no second part I'll ask Rohit to answer. See, number of attempts is not the sole criteria for us to select candidates. Yes, of course, when we have multiple applicants for very few positions, then we tend to start looking at at ways and means to reduce the number of applicants, because it is humanly impossible for us to go through each and every profile that comes in. Right. Otherwise, number of attempts is not the sole criteria for us in selecting any candidates. Articleship experience, Rohit, you want to answer that part?
Like Deepak sir mentioned, I understand that many of you have been in the articleship period during the COVID phase, and you may not really have a great articleship experience. but that can be compensated by, again, what I mentioned to be your general economic knowledge. Uh, if you've not had a lot of practical experience, at least prove that you've prepared well and that you are seriously interested and have good tax skills, whatever you've studied, be thorough about it, and also have a decent general knowledge, economic knowledge, and that I believe should help you.
How can a person who has cleared in previous attempts and working in the industry in tax department apply in M&A? Yes, you can definitely apply. Like Shalini has, I think, mentioned in the chat, we would be circulating our requirements to Deepak. You can apply to Deepak.
I would like to take the privilege and ask one question. These kids are not asking.
Sure,
Most of the
Deepak, go
times,
on.
Rohit, they come up, Rohit, Shalini, and Roy, you all of three, you can second or subscribe to what I am trying to tell them. They try to decorate their CVs by people who are not themselves. Like they try to get the CVs done by others. They try to make it a showcase item. And I have been always trying to tell them that be real of what work you have done, because recruiters like you can screen the CV in 5 to 7 minutes and come to know that this is person is trying to fake it up or not. Am I correct or not, Rohit, Shalini, and Roy?
Maybe I'll let Roy start, but and then
Oh, no, Rohit, you go on, you go on.
no, I mean, see, not to boast about ourselves, but we've been doing this for donkey's years, right? So it's not difficult for us to look at the CV and talk to you for 5 minutes and understand what it is. We'd appreciate if you are true to yourself, write what you believe is in the what you believe in the series, and don't try to be someone else. It won't stand for long. Please be true. It would really go a long way for you.
Yeah, in fact, see, when we screen candidates, we would prefer someone who is like very honest in the CV, and then show the willingness to learn, show that attitude of learning, go-getter attitude. I think that is what we would look at rather than those fancy CVs. If you have done it, well and good. If you have not done it, it's all right. I mean, that does not stop you.
Absolutely.
You can always start. Shalini, you want to add anything?
No, Roy, that's good.
Good evening, sir. Sir, should I ask one question?
Yes, please, Palaf, go on.
Sir, my CV is shortlisted for the TDS role in EYA. Whether I should join or I should look for another profile. Is there any good future for TDS role?
Well, that has been selected for KPMG or some other firm. I think you took the name
No,
of
sir,
some other firm.
sir, in EY.
So then you should not go there. You should come to KPMG, na? Provided
No,
you are
it's
supposed to
it's
clear the interview first. So I just wanted to remind you, this is
Sir,
the KPMG session.
no, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, but sir,
see,
sir, the
Palaf,
profile is the same. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
see, Palaf, I mean, it is, see, the profile that EY offers and that we offer are going to be similar. The kind of work, is going to be similar in terms of what you would do day in, day out. But then, see,
Yeah.
again, it comes down to your personal choice, the kind of people that you want to work with, right? So, see, I will not talk about EY. I think that is no, that is not for me to
No,
talk
no,
about.
sir, I'm not, sir, I'm
But
not
for
saying
hmm,
anything you tell about EY. I'm only asking for the domain I'm looking. Just the domain offer to me is TDS role. Whether I should go for it or not. I'm just asking. I don't want to comment anything about the brand that EY or a KPMG. I'm just looking. I am just asking for the domain which I get offered by them. Whether
got
it's
it. Got it. See, Yeah, I mean that is a very personal choice for you to make. See, because you need to look at what is the experience that you have in the past and what is that you want to get into. No, is TDS going to be your calling? Or if you have worked in TDS, or direct tax earlier, then you would know if that is your calling. If you have not worked it, I mean, and you want to try it out, you should not stop. I mean, you should not stop unless you are certain of something that you want to pick it up. Say maybe indirect tax or M&A tax or transfer pricing. I mean, if you have worked in that particular field, even in audit, you like that particular field, you want to be in that particular field, then you go for it. But if you're not very sure, you want to try it out, give it a try. I mean, that is a very personal choice, I would say. Rohit, Shalini, if you guys want to add, Deepak.
Yes.
No, and
Okay, sir.
yeah, Pallav, go ahead.
I'll put it in a very simpler perspective. Pallav, you are asking us to decide
Yes, sir.
your menu for the dinner without telling what are your personal choices. So it's pretty tough for someone to comment that whether this field is good or bad for you unless you have your preferences clear. I think that's what Roy also said, and I would subscribe to him also.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
Correct,
sir.
Pallav, and
Thanks,
it's
sir.
not like one thing which is interesting for the other would be interesting for everyone else. Like Deepak sir mentioned, it is absolutely a personal choice. Otherwise, we would not have people working in very many different departments that we have, right?
Yes,
If
sir.
not M&A tax is the only interesting thing, then all other departments would not have people. So
Yes,
what's
sir.
interesting to me can't be interesting to you or may not be interesting.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sorry, someone asked on a CV whether the format matters. I just have one point. When we look at CVs, we also see how well or what care you've taken in preparing those CVs. Please ensure that there are no spelling errors, that you've referenced it properly. There are no different fonts that are used within one page. These things really show up on a CV, and it does not help if there is no full stop, if there are commas where there should have been a full stop. Be consistent with what you do. Don't make spelling errors in a CV. Format it properly. All that matters is how much of effort you've put in and if you've really been thorough with what you've written in your CV. Roy, Shalini, maybe you can add there, but I definitely look at these factors as well when I'm looking at a CV.
Yeah, so what Rohit has said is like 100% correct. So spelling errors and everything, it talks about your personality. So resume has to be like, it should not be very fancy, but it should definitely without errors and everything. Yeah.
So
Somebody's raised the hand.
Hello, sir. I want to ask the question on the same doubt with regarding the experience requirement. So generally the vacancies are open with experience. So I do not apply on those vacancies when there are minimum requirements and I do not have any relevant experience regarding that offer. So should
Uh,
we still apply to those
no.
vacancies?
No, I would suggest that you should apply to the vacancies where your skills matches and the experience matches. Yes.
No, but sir said that even if we have the basic knowledge about it,
So if
we
you
will be
want to start,
continuing.
yeah. So in that case, like there, in case if you're interested for indirect, you have an experience in indirect taxation and you want to apply in M&A. So of course you can apply with some experience and all that. So you experience to like for it depends. Like for example, if you are looking for a manager, like we are asking for 4 years of experience and you do not have a relevant experience, then it may not be appropriate for you to apply there. But otherwise, yeah, you can take a call because you can read the description and all that. You would know whether you would fit the bill or not.
So the articleship period will be considered for the experience or no?
Yes, yes. So it will not be considered as an experience, but definitely it helps us to at least filter out the resume for the particular functions. So yes,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Rohit, you want to add something more?
No, I think you summed it up well, Shalini. When I meant that we don't, I mean, even if you don't have experience, I meant for a fresher role, assume you appeared for the 23 exams.
No, but actually, was there any experience required or not? Was it a offer for freshers only or for experienced professionals?
So it depends on which, like Shalini mentioned, it depends on
No,
which role you are looking.
I'm asking about your personal.
Oh, mine, I didn't
experience.
have any tax experience before I joined tax. Fortunately, not to again boast, but maybe a little bit of background. I was a ranker. I had secured a 18th rank in the final examinations. And then I had gone on to coaching. There's a large brand in Mumbai. Uh, I partnered with him and I started their Bangalore operations. So kind of my experience helped in whatever I've done. Plus, at that point in time, they required someone who could understand commercials and someone who has knowledge of tax. Fortunately, I scored really well in tax, and therefore they believed. I don't know if they still believe or not, but at that point in time, they believed that I was a good candidate for tax.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I think Shalini and Roy, there's an interesting question which has come up. Then there will be this question going rounds. I'll read it for all of you for convenience. In continuation with this ongoing discussion, everyone is talking about ATS friendly resumes. This is all courtesy the LinkedIn threads which are going on here and there. So if you could please tell us that in Big Fours also the basic screening is done with the help of AI. And then, like you said, to be true, what you have really done when the risk of resume not getting shortlisted would increase or not. And in the similar lines, one more question is coming. Should we be using AI to reword and rephrase our CVs? Smart people are there nowadays. So they are going to make
Okay.
task of Roy and Shalini even more tougher.
All right. Let me try attempting that question. Should we be using AI? Yes, definitely. You can make use of all the technology available, and you should, in fact, be using all these to kind of better your position. Now, using about ATS and using keywords. I think when it comes to ATS and auto screening of CVs, I think it is about the keywords that you use. Now, see, for me, if I'm looking at a fresher, CF fresher, candidate, I may not really rely on ATS or on keywords that that may pop up. But if I'm looking for an experienced candidate, if I'm looking at for a candidate who has 2-3 years experience or even more, then probably I would be using the ATS system to filter out my candidates, because then it gives me profiles of candidates that are more relevant to my requirement at the experience level. Uh, coming back to freshers. See, freshers CV, if I have to go with AI, if I have to go with ATS, it will reduce my while it would throw up few CVs, it may reduce my talent pool. So I may not rely on that as much as I would rely on when I'm hiring an experienced senior. Uh, yeah, so I mean, again, whether we use ATS, AI, I think you should always remain true to what you have done. No, you should always fill up what you have worked in your CV, not more than that. See, because even if you use all these fancy words, just to bring up your CV to the recruitment through ATS, uh, it doesn't really help that way. It only gets you to the screening stage, not nothing beyond that. Shalini, Rohit, you guys want to add anything on that?
No, pretty much same.
Yeah. Sorry, there's one question which came in to me as a direct message, and maybe I will read it out for everyone's benefit. They're asking if the person is a May 23 CA looking for role in M&A since his qualification, but he's not got any opportunity. Can he now apply? Shalini, Roy, please feel free to respond to that. So May 23 candidate who did not get an opportunity to.
Yeah, they can apply. Yes, very much. Those people can apply.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Mohan.
Yes,
Yes,
Mohan.
go on.
Yes, I had a question regarding C because I had an experience before qualification of CA. So, will it be considered as an experience for the position actually after becoming a CA after this November attempt?
See, while we will give you, will give the weightage if it is no relevant, if the experience is relevant, but we may not count that actually as experience. But
Okay,
yes,
it's
we
not an
definitely would give
article
due weightage.
experience, but it is an
Hmm.
after articles I had an experience of 3 years. Then I have cleared my CA. Then will it be considered for that position, any position?
We would definitely give due weightage to the experience.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe we can take one more last question, and because we need to jump to another call now. Doesn't.
So there is one question on the chat. Does undergoing any masterclass certification courses for direct tax uh would be beneficial? So my I think the person is trying to ask if this is going to be beneficial. Yes, definitely. Definitely this is going to be beneficial. Rohit, if you can add also. So I mean whatever adds to your knowledge is definitely going to be beneficial.
Yes, Roy. Like the last sentence, I think perfectly summed it. That whatever adds to your knowledge, if it's only a class with a certification and without adding to your knowledge, but if it you've made something of it and you think that's and you believe that's added to what you learned and you can show that to us, I think it really makes a lot of difference.
But sir, regarding to this only, so whether certification is necessary, or if we have used someone else's account and we have studied it thoroughly, some topic, and then we write it in our CV that we have understood the topic. So we can do that, or the certification is necessary in that case.
Maybe Roy, you can start with if you want to, and then I can add on to that.
So see, I mean, basic tech is if you have the certificate and don't know the topic, it is of no value to us. I mean, see, having a certificate is important to show that you have been certified. But after having been certified, if you're not able to really apply the knowledge, then I think it is of no use. In fact, I would go for someone who doesn't have a certificate but has a knowledge of it. Yeah, Rohit, go on.
No, I think that's right. But as long as you know what you're speaking about, if you've mentioned in your CV that you have theoretical knowledge on, let's say, how a AIF is set up in India. You may not have a degree, but if I ask you questions on how it is set up and you are able to answer that, that goes a long way in me knowing what you've done and what your experience is or what your knowledge is.
Okay, sir.
Write what you know, don't write what you don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, even if you have certificates.
That's the cherry on top. I think that's perfect, Roy.
I think all the questions have been taken up as far as I understand, and we can wrap up the session now. I think you all have a call also. We have exceeded 5 minutes of your time, Rohit and Roy. So I think I must appreciate the time taken by the firm. And Rohit, thank you very much for joining the call despite of not feeling well and having issues with your health. We appreciate that. Thank you very much for enriching all these candidates, because this nectar which they have received, they would have been searching on this for various places, ending up learning whatnot. But thank you very much for giving that crisp reality of what you will be doing and what M&A is all about. Thank you, Shalini, for bringing on Rohit. Thank you, Roy, for coordinating it. And on behalf of all the candidates, I thank KPMG team for enlightening them and enabling them.
Thanks to you too, Deepak, again for organizing. This would not have been possible without your connects. So definitely, thank you very much, and thanks to all those who have been actively participating in this. I hope we have we were of some help, and definitely no, and of course, all the very best to all of you. I know all of you must be very excited for waiting for tomorrow. And I hope all of you will come out with flying colors, and then hope to see many of you in KPMG.
Okay.
Yeah, best of luck to everyone. Hope you have great results tomorrow, and hope to see you
Yeah.
in KPMG. And thanks for your time, Deepak sir. Thank you for everyone else.
Anytime, Rohit. Rohit, thank you very much, Rohit.
You're welcome.
Okay, have a good evening. And thank you very much to all the candidates and wish you all the best for tomorrow's result. I'm not eating out any of your heads right now. Relax, pray, and then I know you can't sleep tonight, so it's perfectly okay. I think Rohit can correlate, I can correlate. Roy,
I
Roy, have you attempted chartered accountancy exams at some point of
No,
time?
no. I was never bright enough for CA.
Roy, we also thought the same before taking up the exam. So
Yes, I agree with Rohit
I
on this.
no one thinks they are built for CA, but eventually you end up becoming,
Yeah.
and hopefully everyone here has a good result tomorrow.
I'll share one small thing, Rohit, and then we'll wrap it up. Most of the times, Shalini and Roy come back asking me, कितने लोग पास हो जाएंगे बता दो अभी से. मैंने बोला ये तो कोई नहीं बता सकता है. Nobody can tell that.
So
absolutely.
Deepak sir, I mean, since we spoke about it, and when you mentioned that many of you can't sleep, I got up at 6 a.m. and 5:36. I slept for a short while, couldn't do anything. My uncle, he said, "Chal, we'll go play table tennis." So I played table tennis for 3 hours. So tired, I slept, and then friends woke me up saying results are announced. What are you doing? What is it? What did you get? So try not
It's
being anxious about it. Go
yes.
do something that you really enjoy doing tomorrow morning, and things will be the way that they have to. Nothing can change what your results have been. Uh, Hopefully, everyone comes out with flying colors.
Great. It was great interacting with you, Rohit. Thank you very much for that closing note. Thank you very much, Roy. I think we should call it up a wrap and you all can go and relax now.
All
All the
right, so
best once
enjoy the
again.
night, everyone. Tomorrow is gonna be the D-Day,
Yeah.
and I hope to see many of you in KPMG.
Yeah.
All the very best.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roy. Bye bye. I'll be closing the session and the call. Okay.
Sure, sure. Bye.
Thank you very much. All the friends, please relax. घर जाके सो, मजे लो, खाओ पियो. पता है खाना नहीं उतरेगा, नींद नहीं आएगी, बट ठीक है, अब रहो जहाँ पे है. मैं समझ सकता हूँ और मुझसे ऐसा व्यक्ति ज्यादा समझ सकता है. आई टुक सम मोर अटेम्प्ट्स टू पास ये रादर देन इन द वन. सो I can very well correlate what you all are going through. So I will not tickle you on the wrong side. Relax. So no more GAN today. Once things are done tomorrow, then we'll speak. Keep in touch with us on the WhatsApp group. I hope all of you have the WhatsApp group link. So WhatsApp link, if it is not there, let me know. I'll post it. So that's one thing. So that I'll post, and then there is a Telegram group of degree to placement which is there. So that you can take up. This is the WhatsApp link. I presume there are certain people who have appeared for intermediate exams have been attending this session today. So thank you, Neerav, for the Telegram link, and this is the WhatsApp link which is there. वो इंटर वाले जितने बच्चे हैं मेरे, एक तो तिलक पाटीदार है, नीला और मीनल है. तुम लोग है ना अभी थोड़ा शांति रखो, अभी तुम्हारे लिए और बहुत कुछ होना बाकी है. फाइनल वालों इनको समझाओ, इतनी जल्दी करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, अभी मजे ले लो. See all these final guys smiling. बोले इनको मालूम नहीं है क्या आने वाला है इनके सामने. See, सारी जल्दी धरी की धरी रह जाएगी. चलो बच्चों, गॉड ब्लेस यू. एक बात मैं एक बस आखिरी में बोल दूं, आप लोग का रिजल्ट कल जो भी आता है, मेरे लिए आप जितने प्यारे आज हो कल भी रहोगे. ऐसा एकदम परेशान मत होना. इट मे बी अ मैटर ऑफ अ टाइम, थिंग्स में गए हियर एंड देयर, इट्स फाइन, चलेगा. डोंट वरी ऑन दैट. ओके, चलो. Okay, I am closing the call. God bless all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.